Hello again, welcome back to the channel. Here we are on Thursday, the 5th of September. So much for getting this done on Labor Day Monday. Been a week. It happens. I will try again to be on time on Monday. For the thousands and thousands of you. Not. You will get them weekly, but sometimes they're just not going to be on. They're not going to be on Mondays. Deal with it, man. Anyway, today we're going to work on talking about the state of basketball in America. And I say America because I really don't have a good feeling. I don't have a good feel for the international game at all. Although the world is seemingly catching up with us, and that's okay. There's a lot to say in the game of basketball right now. And as I've done with all the other sports, excuse me, it's still only coffee. It's going to have some Irish lingo in it pretty soon. Damn intern. Anyway, the state of it, like I've done before, is we've gone from the bottom to the top from an age group standpoint. Basketball really is a way out for a lot of inner city kids, particularly. That's really where the game has ended up, and that's why there's so much all the way through the levels. You see a lot of isolation, you see a lot of one-on-one, you see a lot of jamming the ball and a lot of theatrics and everything else, because it comes out of street ball. And if you've ever seen street ball, like in Harlem, you get this guy, the professor, tricksters, and all kinds of people. That's the stuff. It's an entertainment thing more than being good at the craft. It's just basically an entertainment venue. Trick dribbling, trick plays, all kinds of stuff, and that's cool for what it is. It's like a circus, a little rectangular circus with a couple of nets attached, and that's okay. Professor's pretty ridiculous. He's really good. If you haven't followed him, I'll give him a free shout out there. But that's where a lot of these players are coming from. So you're a little kid and you're watching this stuff, all the trick dribbling, learning how to palm the ball without getting caught, those kinds of things. But a lot of your basics are just not getting taught at an early enough age. So what a lot of coaches are having to do is go and correct some things, and some coaches are better than others. There's this belief in the grade school, I'd say under 12, under 13, under 14, something like that, when they're in clubs or whatever they're in. Sorry about that. I had a call coming in. Anyway, so all the way through school, they're really focusing on things such as, it has to be man-to-man defense. Zones are bad, and all these kinds of things. I think you open up the whole playbook early on. I think that a lot of kids, they really don't have the one-on-one defensive skills, particularly early on. I think you try to teach it. I think you mix in some zone because you need to do that, especially if you're going to go on to college and play in those ranks. I think it becomes very, very important. So it just depends on which program you're attached to, the completeness of what you're getting. They're not teaching jump shots nearly as well. They're teaching a lot of isolation stuff, but mainly on the offensive side of the ball. And I just don't. It's just an incomplete it's an incomplete picture. So the quality of the game in the last 20 years has deteriorated. The athleticism is better, but it's not, the game's just not, it's not on the same level that it had been, and it matters. Really good athletes put in the wrong positions, it's still a crappy game, by comparison. So what I'm looking at is, I'm thinking they need some better teaching. So the junior NBA program is pretty good, and that gets into some of the schools. It gets into some of the community programs, and that's pretty good. You look a lot of dribbling skills and defense and jump shots and everything else, and I think that's pretty favorable. You get into high school, you start to learn what you don't know, and that is that you start to having to learn a team game rather than 5 one-on-one games within a game, and that makes a big difference. And it also shows you how much the NBA has devolved, because when you get through high school and college, you go to the NBA and you learn to play isolation ball all over again. It's just idiotic. The NBA has really, it's just turned to, it's almost unwatchable. It's almost unwatchable. Just tune in at the All-Star game for the dunk contest and the three-point shooting contest, and then call me when the finals happen. Maybe. That's about it. The rest of it's unwatchable, if you care about the game, which you're not required to. But it's devolving in a hurry. So these guys, they get into high school, and you gotta learn a team concept. You gotta learn assignment basketball. All right, whether it's playing man to man, you're doing a lot of switching on defense, learning to run set plays on offense, learning how to run a full court. Maybe you're getting runs in, before that, but when you get into high school, you got to learn how to do fast breaks without the ball hitting the ground or hitting the floor. All kinds of different things you just never seen before, because you're allowed to be sloppy when you're out balling. But when you get out on the high school level, you want to get some playing time, you have to learn some of the stuff. So it'd be nicer if they teach it early on, but it's really not happening that much. So then the cream of the crop ends up going into major college basketball, and there are good programs and there are bad ones. I look at the jump shooting, the skill of the jump shooters now, and it's spotty. It's hit and miss. There's some really good shooters, but the average shooter in college basketball is just awful. It's awful. Larry Bird back in the day, he'd jack up 200 jumpers a day after practice. You ain't finding that anymore. Kobe was the same way. You ain't seeing that anymore. These guys are punching a time clock, mostly. I mean, some of them are getting some run, some cardio work and stuff like that afterwards, but nobody's really working on their game, on their jump shoot. They're working on, can I do a reverse windmill? Johnny Badass, jams. That's a commodity. Just about everybody can jam at that level, as long as you're about 6'2", 6'3". Even a potted plant can get up a little bit when you're 6'5", 6'6". So I mean, it becomes a commodity. But the real thing is being able to shoot, being able to get separation, shooting off platform, which knowing how to adjust elbow position and things of that nature when you're moving laterally or backwards or whatever, how to adjust your shot. Allen Iverson was great at that. He's probably one of the best ever. You're just not seeing it taught. You got to go way back now to get people that are truly good at that craft, and that's a problem. So I'm looking forward, to maybe every generation or so we figure out that the game sucks and we start, maybe working on it. That's what I'm hoping. Some of the old heads can come in and maybe start getting into those coaching roles and start demanding some of these guys clean it up a little bit. But yeah, the shooting is ridiculously bad. The NBA, no, I wouldn't even go to the NBA yet. In college basketball, at least they really preach the defense in a lot of programs. The rebounding could be better. Way too many times that I see somebody shoots, and long shots, by the way, get long rebounds. But guys shooting 10, 12, 14-foot jumpers, and they don't follow their shot. Nobody's clearing out on defense or boxing out to get the rebounds. They're conserving. And when you look at the NBA, you're in a college program, and you look at the NBA, and your heroes are doing load management, which, by the way, load management involves a toilet. Only. It involves a toilet. That's how we manage loads in life. Okay? It is not what the NBA player says, and that's, I'm going to take days off. There's a kid out there this is the only time they're ever going to be able to afford the tickets to come see you. How dare you say, you know what, I don't feel like playing. I only make $10 million a year. That is not cool at all. You need to post. You need to be in there every day, unless you're injured. That's just ridiculous stuff. You're only asking for 80 or 90 games a year. You get through the playoffs, maybe you're at 95. The average player is probably going to play 60, 65 regular season games. I mean, it should be 80, 82 or whatever. I think it's 82. But they're just not doing that. Very rare. And I think that's a load of crap. Excuse the pun. Yeah, but they learn about load management as they're watching the NBA, that next step up. So these guys at the college level, they're kind of being efficient with their effort level. So sometimes they take a couple of possessions off on defense, they take possessions off on offense, they loaf it back. They do all kinds of things that can lose you ball games. But I mean, these are things you just didn't see very much back in the 80s and 90s and aughts. You didn't see it because you had guys on the court that were going to snatch you up bald headed, like they say. You got guys like Shaq, Rick Mahorn, going all the way back. You played that way, you got buttonholed in the locker room afterwards. You don't want to do that twice. Those things aren't happening anymore. Kobe Bryant was the same way. You give max effort, period. You're making millions of dollars. So these guys are already doing that in the college game. But at least there is a team concept in the game, and they haven't legislated defense out of the game. Okay? So these guys, so there is some quality, and depending on the coach, you may be getting a very good education in life, which is, I think, part of the part of the process. It's not a tumor. Anyway, it's part of the process. So then you get into the professional ranks, and you're taking as many days off as you can get away with. You're all about how many endorsement deals am I getting. You're loafing around in practice. Have you ever seen a practice, an NBA practice, like an extended film of one? Not overwhelming. There's not a lot of movement. Everybody's just shooting around. I'm a coach. Coach's perspective. Musings of a middle-aged coach, as it is. My job as a coach is to make practice be harder than the games. Not conserve your energy, oh pampered billionaires, but to actually get out there and bust your asses. Now, the day before a game, sure. But if you're playing two a week, maybe 3, there's some times in there you guys should be busting some ass, doing some conditioning work. You should be working full speed, and they're not. A lot of these programs are like that, so it's underwhelming. The coaches are afraid to call out the players. The players are, I mean, if you look at LeBron James, he's basically the GM of the Lakers. He's the de facto GM. He makes all the decisions. That would never happen in my program. I mean, they can fire me if they want, but I'm not letting the player dictate things like that. Dictate player moves and things like that. So there's this boss generation where we're going to give less effort and we get more control, and that's something that the ownership and the managers should be the coaches and the general managers should be pushing back on. And when I mean push back, I mean slamming back. Like, this should not be happening. It's obnoxious and it's wrong and it's injurious to the game. It really is. Now, when we do look internationally, and I'll give you a couple of snippets on that. I mean, obviously, some of the Slavic countries have caught us. They just have. And this is why, because we've reverted to a very sloppy brand of basketball that is without discipline. We have the best athletes. We can out-athlete anybody. And on any given night, as long as at least we got maybe one or two hot guys, shooting the ball, these professional athletes can beat anybody anywhere on the planet. But the margin for error is not there anymore. And when they're not on, they're beatable. You look at the 92 Dream Team. Well, we win in every game by 40 points. It's not even close to that now. And it's still our best players out there. Well, and some of them won't show up anymore because they've seen that they've become an international embarrassment and they don't want to be part of that anymore. It used to mean something to represent your country. Some of these people won't do it anymore. They're just not that good. And I don't mean to crap on people, but the way the game has developed and basically become underdeveloped, we don't teach the basic things that the Serbias of the world, for example, are very good at. They're assassins from the 3-point line. Our 3-point defense is ridiculous. We go into games knowing how they're going to cut us, and we don't even defend them. So it becomes something very difficult to watch. And the head coaches have next to no authority to do anything, because if they say anything, then it becomes a media thing, and then somebody knocks on their door. So, you know what? You can't criticize LeBron. You can't criticize this guy. You can't criticize that guy. Okay, and see. And see that's a lot like castrating a coach. So that's where the game is right now. It's in an underdeveloped stage, and I would say that the cost of tickets and merch and everything else has gone straight up, and on a lesser and lesser quality of a game that you're having to play for. So the state of basketball it's still strong. It's still making money, but the self-entitlement is a problem, and I think it's going to further and further erode the program, particularly in the NBA. And the kids are watching. So there's some kids with some really good skills. They're just not, at the bottom level, and they're just not getting the attention they need to get them the skills that they have to have to be truly good in this game. They've got all the showy pieces. And it's just only the very elite kids have any chance at the NBA. And then there is such a dearth of talent that what ends up playing in the NBA on an everyday basis is usually maybe three really good players and a bunch of passengers. And it's getting bad. And they're talking about potentially expanding. Just like in Major League Baseball. Just don't do it. Like, you don't have the base that you think you do. So my opinions. There are some good things going on. There are some good players. There's some good shooters. But just the general state of the game is to me is not where it needs to be. And I think there needs to be a lot more attention to the basics at a much earlier age. And I think we need to stop coddling these kids. And a lot of the sports are like that. The football's the same way. Basketball's like this. Baseball isn't. They don't make divas out of them, but they're divas in basketball and football to a great degree. Very early on in the process, everybody wants them. Everybody's recruiting them. Everybody's giving them money when they're not supposed to. Now that they got NIL, now they can get some legal money. But it's all about this. And that's not always wrong, but when you're looking at the glory of the game and whether the game is improving or devolving, you see where the money's taking things. Self-entitlement doesn't make a great athlete. And Kobe Bryant would talk a lot about that. So, social media-wise, I'll add this at the end. Social media-wise, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of good storytelling, but I think they don't do nearly as good of a job of selling the product on social media, whether it be Instagram, whether it be YouTube, whatever it is. They're really not, doing as good of a job as they probably should. And the other aspect of it is, let's make sure we stay out of the headlines. There's a lot of extracurricular stuff going on in basketball. Stuff off the court that is rather unseemly, and maybe there always has been, but it's just now that we're in a 24/7 news cycle, you can't hide this stuff. I mean, Will Chamberlain had five girls at his hotel room every night. I get that, but now it's 24/7. There's cameras everywhere, so that's where we are. I hope some of the old heads get in and really start teaching the game a little bit better. I mean, Shaq's trying. Some of those other guys are as well, and really start talking at these guys a little bit. And I think there's a few leaders in the NBA that maybe are seeing it, and maybe they can teach it rather than just embody it. Sometimes it's more than just showing them. It's literally taking the other guys aside and doing something. Getting in their ear, really taking them under your wing, rather than just making a speech. So we'll see what happens. I would like to think that this can improve. It's got to improve from the bottom up, but the NBA elite players have to really take a role in improving the general product, in my opinion. All right, so I'm gonna let you go at that. Maybe a little shorter than normal for these, but again, hit me up on where I'm wrong or where I'm right, or where you're not sure and you're confused, or even to tell me you just don't care. That's okay too. Although that would be odd to tell me that you're not caring. But I'll take it. I like the comments. So like, comment, subscribe, hit the ringy dingy, say all, so you get all the digital goodness, mediocre as it is, into your inbox on a weekly basis at a time that I feel like delivering it. And then please, when you see the quality of it, whether you feel sorry for me or you actually think it's quality, either way, send it to as many people as possible so that we can grow this channel, and maybe you guys can educate me on how to run a channel better or be more interesting or whatnot. I joke a bit. All right, I'll holler at you next week, and I hope you had a great Labor Day and Labor Day weekend. You did some fun stuff, and I will holler at you later. Peace.